You're single, what do you need a whole apartment for? How a family video call turned into a 5-year takeover plan and why saying no cost me everything except my self-respect. Posted by you/not your free landlord. 27M. Never thought I'd be posting here, but I need some outside perspective because my family is making me feel like the worst person alive, and I'm genuinely starting to question my own sanity. Let me give you some background first. I'm the youngest in my family. My sister is 41, 14 years older than me, practically a different generation. She got married young and had her daughter, my niece, when I was only 10 years old. Growing up, my niece and I had this unique dynamic. I wasn't really the uncle figure to her in the traditional sense. We were more like cousins, honestly. We played together at family gatherings when we were both kids, shared memes as she got older, had an easy, comfortable relationship. She's a good kid. Smart as hell, too, top of her class, ambitious, driven. The kind of teenager who actually has her life figured out more than most adults I know. When she got accepted to a prestigious university in the city where I live, I was genuinely proud of her. I remember calling my sister to congratulate them both. It felt like a family achievement, you know? Someone from our family making it to a top school. What I didn't expect was becoming her housing solution. Let me tell you about my apartment because this is apparently the center of the controversy. I worked hard for what I have. Started my first job at 18, saved aggressively while living with roommates who drove me crazy half the time, and finally, bought my own place at 25. It cost me $138,000. Small 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. That second bedroom, it's my home office. I work remotely 3 days a week. I have a proper desk setup, dual monitors, ergonomic chair, the whole thing. It's not just a room with some furniture in it, it's where my career happens. It's the space that makes my work possible, that keeps the income flowing, that allows me to actually pay the mortgage on the place. The apartment isn't just housing. It's my workspace, my sanctuary, my entire adult life built into 650 square feet. So here's what happened. My niece got accepted to this top university. Full scholarship for tuition, which is genuinely impressive and speaks to how hard she's worked. But here's the thing, housing isn't covered. University dorms exist but are expensive and competitive. She didn't get a housing assignment in the lottery. Off-campus apartments near the university are astronomical. We're talking $1,500 a month minimum for anything decent. Now, my sister and her husband aren't poor. They have a house in a smaller city about 4 hours away, decent jobs, comfortable life. They could afford to help with housing costs. It would be a stretch, sure, but they could make it work. But why stretch when someone else can provide it for free? A few weeks after the acceptance, my family organized a video call to celebrate. Everyone was excited. Mom, Dad, sister, niece, me. We were all genuinely happy. Lots of congratulations going around, talk about the future, pride in the family's academic achiever. Then my sister steered the conversation. Now we just need to figure out housing, she said, her voice taking on that particular tone I've come to recognize over the years. Dorms are $12,000 a year, and she didn't get housing assignment anyway. Off-campus apartments near the university are $1,500 a month minimum. She paused, looked directly at me through the screen. But you're right there. In the city. With a 2-bedroom apartment. It's perfect. Before I could even process what was happening, my mom jumped in. That's a wonderful idea. She can stay with you. You have that extra room just sitting there. Dad nodded enthusiastically. It makes so much sense. Family helping family. My sister smiled that smile I now realize was victory in disguise. You'd be doing us such a huge favor. And think about it, you'd have company. Someone to come home to. It would be good for both of you. I looked at my niece on the screen. She looked awkward, uncomfortable. She clearly knew this was coming, but she hadn't been part of planning it. She was caught in the middle, being used as a chess piece in a game she didn't ask to play. I felt ambushed. I tried to understand what exactly they were proposing. What are we talking about here? I asked, keeping my voice calm. A visit? A semester? My sister's answer made my stomach drop. She lives with you during the school year. 9 months. You have the spare room, she'd barely take up space. And we'd need to register her at your address for university paperwork, city benefits, student transit pass, all of that. It needs to be official. I waited for the punchline. Just kidding. Just for the 4 to 5 years of her degree. I want to pause here to make sure you understand what I was hearing. Not a visit. Not a semester. Not even a year. 4 to 5 years. And official registration at my address, legal ties to my home. From age 27 to 32. My entire late 20s, handed over to serve as free housing for someone else's child. I addressed the immediate problem. That spare room is my home office, I said. I work from there 3 days a week. It has my desk, my computer setup, all my work equipment. My sister waved her hand dismissively. Actually waved it, like she was brushing away a fly. You can work from the living room. Or a coffee shop. People do it all the time. She needs a proper room for studying. She's going to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or something important. She needs space to focus. I felt something shift inside me. And I need space to earn the income that pays for the apartment you want her to live in. Silence for exactly 2 seconds. Then my mom, don't be dramatic. You're young, you're flexible. She's at a critical stage of her life. University years shape everything. You can adapt. My dad, when I was your age, I would have been honored to help family this way. My sister, you're single. No kids. What do you need a whole apartment for? It's practically empty anyway. The message was crystallizing. My life, my work, my space, none of it mattered as much as my niece's education. I should be grateful for the opportunity to sacrifice. She called it an empty room. It's my home office, where I work 3 days a week, where my career happens. But to her, my work is less important than her daughter's housing convenience. My income-generating space should become a free bedroom because family. I tried to address the registration issue specifically. You want me to officially register her at my address? That's not just a favor, that has legal implications. For my taxes, my utilities, my standing. My sister cut me off. You own the apartment. There's no landlord. And what legal implications? She's a student, not a criminal. You're being paranoid. Registration means she's legally a resident, I explained, trying to keep my voice level. It affects who has rights to the address. It's not simple. My mom sighed. Why are you making this complicated? It's just paperwork. They wanted me to register her at my address for 5 years. That's not paperwork, that's legal residency. Rights. Complications. I could already feel the weight of what they were asking pressing down on me. I did the math out loud, hoping they'd hear how it sounded. She's 17 now. Starting university. 4 years minimum for a bachelor's degree. Probably 5 if she adds anything, which most students do these days. She'll be 22 or 23 when she finishes. I'll be 32 or 33. You're asking me to give up my home office, my privacy, and register someone at my address for 5 years. From age 27 to 32. My entire late 20s. For free. My sister's face hardened. It's not for free, it's for family. You're making it sound like a business transaction. You're making a request that will reshape my life for 5 years. At some point, the impact is the impact, regardless of what we call it. That's when the guilt campaign started. My sister shifted tactics, her voice becoming thick with emotion. She's your niece. She used to look up to you. You were her cool young uncle. And now when she needs help, you're talking about registration implications and home office. What happened to you? My mom, I didn't raise you to be this selfish. Family sacrifices for family. My dad, your sister helped you when you were young. Remember when she drove you to your first job interview? This is how you repay her. Every past favor, no matter how small, weaponized. A single car ride from 15 years ago was apparently worth 5 years of free housing. The math didn't add up, but emotions don't care about math. I looked at my niece. She'd been silent through most of this. What do you want? I asked her directly. She hesitated, looking uncomfortable. I mean, it would be nice to not live in dorms. And your family, so it would be comfortable. But if it's a problem. My sister cut in immediately. It's not a problem. He's just being difficult. But I saw my niece's face. She didn't want to impose. She was being used as a pawn in her mother's plan. This wasn't about what my niece needed. It was about what my sister wanted, which was for me to solve her problem at my expense. Update 1, the research phase. I ended the call promising to think about it. The guilt was immediate and crushing. I barely slept that night, tossing and turning, hearing my mother's voice on repeat. I didn't raise you to be this selfish. But somewhere around 3 a.m., something shifted. I realized I was feeling guilty for… what exactly? For having a home office I needed? For not wanting to give up my privacy for half a decade? For asking reasonable questions about legal implications? The next morning, I made coffee and did something my family apparently hadn't: actual research. The university has dorms. Yes, they're competitive and not amazing, but they're adequate. Thousands of students live there successfully every year. They're not luxury accommodations, but they're functional spaces where young adults learn to live independently. I pulled up the university's housing website and read through the options. Standard dorms, suite-style living, apartment-style housing for upperclassmen. The prices my sister quoted? They were for the premium single rooms in the newest buildings. The shared options were significantly cheaper. Off-campus housing exists too, shared apartments with other students, much more affordable than my sister had claimed. I spent an hour on rental websites and student housing forums. Found listings for rooms in shared apartments for $700 to $800 a month, sometimes less. International students manage this all the time without local family to house them. Students from across the country figure it out. Kids from other continents figure it out. I looked up statistics. The majority of college students don't live with family. They survive. They thrive. They graduate. They look back on those cramped apartments with fondness because that's where they became adults. My niece wouldn't be homeless without my apartment. She wouldn't be destitute. She'd be a normal student with normal student housing. The crisis my family was presenting was manufactured to make me feel like the only solution. But I needed more than internet research. I needed to understand the legal piece that was gnawing at me. I called a friend from college who's now a lawyer. We'd kept in touch over the years. He was one of those guys who was always happy to answer random legal questions over beer. I explained the situation: registering someone at my address for 5 years, having them live there as an official resident, what the implications might be. He listened without interrupting, then took a long breath. "Okay, so here's the thing," he said. "Once she's registered and residing there, she establishes residency rights. Legally, she becomes a tenant even if she's not paying rent. Family relationship doesn't change that. If anything, it makes it messier because people assume family will just work it out." What does that mean practically? It means if your relationship sours, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, removing her becomes complicated. You can't just change the locks. You might need formal eviction proceedings, court filings, legal fees, months of process, even for a family member. Especially in your state, tenant protections are strong. I felt my stomach tighten. What about the registration itself? Any other implications? A few. Her mail comes to your address. Her official residence is your address. If she gets in any trouble, and again, I'm not saying she will, but if she does, law enforcement might come to your door. If she takes out loans, credit cards, whatever, your address is associated with that. And if she stops paying, debt collectors know where to find her. It's not just paperwork, it's legal entanglement. My lawyer friend confirmed, once she's established there, removing her requires formal eviction even if we're family. I'm supposed to take that risk because family helps family. I thanked him, hung up, and sat with what I'd learned. My instincts weren't paranoia. They were self-preservation. Update 2. The counteroffer. I called my sister with a counter-proposal. I can't give up my home office or register her at my address for 5 years, I said. But I can help. I'll contribute $200 a month toward her housing. That's $2,400 a year, $12,000 over 5 years. Real money toward actual housing costs. Silence. Then, that's insulting. I blinked. What? You have a free room and you're offering $200? She's your niece. I have a home office I use for work that generates my income. I'm offering real financial help. That's not insulting, that's substantial support. It's not about money, my sister said, her voice tight. It's about family. Having family close. Having someone who cares about her nearby. Then it should be fine that I'm nearby even if she's not living with me. I can still see her, support her, be present. I just can't give her my apartment. She hung up. I offered $200 per month, $12,000 over 5 years, and she called it insulting. Because money wasn't the point. Control was the point. Having her daughter in my space, registered at my address, establishing presence in my life. Cash help doesn't provide that. Only my apartment would. Update 3. The escalation. My sister rejected the offer and immediately called our parents. Within hours, My phone was ringing. My mom's voice was heavy with disappointment. "You'd rather give money than open your home?" she asked. I tried to explain. "My work requires the office. My life requires privacy. 5 years is not a small commitment. The registration has legal implications. The situation would fundamentally change my life." My parents didn't understand. In their generation, family meant no boundaries. You gave everything and sorted out the problems later. You didn't talk about legal implications or personal space. You just opened your door and figured it out. I see it differently. You can love family and still have limits. Those limits aren't betrayal, they're self-preservation. Then came the threat. Delivered through my mom, as these things often are. "Your sister says if you don't help your niece, don't expect to be part of her life. Or hers. You're choosing an empty room over family. When you're old and alone, remember this moment." I felt the manipulation for what it was. My sister was saying if I didn't give her what she wanted, she'd cut me off. That's not family love. That's conditional relationship based on compliance. Real family doesn't issue ultimatums when you have boundaries. Sister said I'm choosing an empty room over family. I'm choosing my career, my privacy, my boundaries, my legal security. For 5 years. From age 27 to 32. That's not an empty room. That's my entire late 20s. Apparently that's worth less than her daughter's housing upgrade. Mom said, "What do you need a whole apartment for?" "I need it for living. For working. For existing as an adult with a life. Being single doesn't mean my space is available for colonization. My relationship status doesn't make my home less mine." Update 4. The confrontation. A week passed. The family group chat went silent, or at least, I assumed they'd made a new one without me. My parents called occasionally, tiptoeing around the topic, clearly hoping I'd changed my mind without them having to ask again. I hadn't. I called my sister directly for what I knew would be our final conversation about this. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice already guarded. "Hi," I said. "Can we talk?" "If you're calling to apologize and do the right thing, yes." I took a breath. "I'm calling to give you my final answer. I've thought about it carefully. Consulted with a lawyer. Done research. And the answer is no." Silence on the other end. "I won't register her at my address," I continued. "I won't give up my home office. And I won't commit to housing her for 5 years. I love her, I really do, and I'll support her education in other ways. Financially. Emotionally. Practically. I'll help her move into wherever she ends up. I'll visit. I'll be the uncle she can call when things are hard. But my apartment stays mine." "You selfish piece of—" She stopped herself. When she spoke again, her voice was cold. "You're ruining her future. You know that, right? You're choosing a room over her entire future." "She has a scholarship to a prestigious university," I said, keeping my voice level. "Her future isn't ruined. She just doesn't get free luxury housing. Like most students. Like I didn't have when I was in college. Like millions of people who went through school and came out fine. This isn't about most students. This is about your niece. Your family. And I'm offering to help my family in ways that don't require me to give up my career, my privacy, and my legal security for 5 years." "Your legal security," she repeated, mockingly. "Listen to yourself. She's 17. She's a kid. And you're talking about legal security. She won't be 17 forever. She'll be 22 when she graduates. An adult. Living in my apartment. Registered at my address. With legal residency rights. I talked to a lawyer about what that means." "I don't think you have." Another long silence. "I never want to speak to you again," she finally said. Her voice was flat now, drained of the heat. "Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show up to family events thinking we're going to make nice. You made your choice. Now live with it." I took a breath. "That's your choice. I'm sorry it came to this." "No, you're not. You're not sorry at all." She hung up. I sat there for a long time, phone in my hand, staring at nothing. Part of me wanted to call back, to explain again, to find the magic words that would make her understand. But I knew there weren't any. She didn't want understanding. She wanted compliance. And that wasn't something I could give her. Update 5. 2 years later, final update. My sister followed through on her threat. Complete radio silence. She blocked me on everything: phone, social media, email. She stopped coming to family gatherings where I might be present, forcing our parents into the impossible position of choosing which child to invite to holidays. They handled it by alternating years, which felt fair even though it also felt terrible. She made it clear to everyone who would listen that I was the villain of the story. The selfish younger brother who put a spare room above his own flesh and blood. I heard through relatives that she told the story to her friends, her co-workers, anyone who would listen. In her version, I was a heartless bachelor with a palatial apartment who couldn't spare a corner for his struggling niece. She conveniently left out the home office, the 5-year timeline, the legal implications, the fact that her daughter had other options. In her version, it was simple. She asked for help, and I said no. I stopped defending myself after a while. People believe what they want to believe. Our parents ended up caught in the middle, uncomfortable but maintaining contact with both of us. They stopped pushing me about it eventually, though I occasionally catch disappointed looks from my mom at holidays. My dad just pretends the whole thing never happened, which is his way of dealing with family conflict. We talk about sports, the weather, anything but the elephant in the room. And my niece. That first fall, she ended up in shared off-campus housing with 2 other students. Not what my sister wanted, not the private room in her uncle's apartment, with family support and 0 rent. Just a small bedroom in a 3-bedroom apartment, splitting utilities 3 ways, learning to live with strangers who became friends. Here's the thing that nobody in my family predicted. She seems happier than I ever imagined. I hear about it through occasional texts she sends me. My sister apparently never told her to cut me off, or if she did, my niece decided not to listen. Our communication is sporadic but warm. Memes, random questions about adulting stuff her mom doesn't know about, updates on classes that aren't intended for parent consumption. She's independent now, making her own way. Building adult skills she wouldn't have learned living with her uncle. Cooking for herself, managing a household budget with roommates, navigating the interpersonal conflicts and compromises that come with shared living. Her roommates became her closest friends. They study together, go out together, take care of each other when someone's sick or heartbroken or failing an exam. That's the college experience. That's what she would have missed, living in my spare bedroom, coming home to her uncle instead of her peers. Last month, she sent me a photo of her grades. Dean's List. Again. 3rd semester in a row. Thriving despite not having an uncle landlord, she texted, with a laughing emoji that made me think maybe she understood more than she let on. She also landed a summer internship at a company in her field. Paid. Competitive. The kind of thing that looks good on a resume and actually teaches you skills. When she told me about it, I could hear the pride in her voice. Pride in something she'd achieved entirely on her own, without family strings attached. Niece ended up in shared housing with roommates. Normal student experience. Making friends, learning independence, managing her own life. The ruined future sister predicted looks pretty good from here. Turns out the dorms wouldn't have destroyed her genius. Who knew? Sister stopped speaking to me. Said she never wants to talk again. Over housing. Over an apartment I bought with my own money being used for my own life. That's what her sisterhood was worth, exactly as much as the free housing she wanted to extract. When I couldn't provide it, I became worthless to her. It's been 2 years now. I'm sitting in my home office as I write this, same desk setup, same space that makes my career possible. Friday afternoon, wrapping up the week. My phone buzzes. A text from my niece. It's a photo of her apartment, decorated for someone's birthday. Streamers, a homemade cake, 3 smiling young women crammed into a tiny kitchen. The caption reads, "My roommate turned 20. We made her a cake. Apartment is tiny but we make it work, smiling face with smiling eyes." I smile. Type back, "Looks fun. Happy birthday to her." I don't mention the conversation 2 years ago. I don't need to. She's fine. Better than fine. She's building her own life, surrounded by friends her own age, having experiences that would never have happened in her uncle's spare bedroom. I look around my home office. My desk, my equipment, my space. The room that would have been her bedroom for 5 years. Instead, it's where I built my career this whole time. Where I got promoted. Where I took on projects that challenged me. Where I grew as a professional while she grew as a student. She has her tiny apartment with birthday cakes. I have my home office with my work. Both of us exactly where we should be. My sister wanted me to give up my home office for 5 years. Register a teenager at my address. Surrender my privacy, my workspace, my legal standing. For family. She called me selfish when I said no. Said I was ruining her daughter's future. Now it's 2 years later. Niece is thriving, Dean's List, summer internship, apartment with friends she loves. Her future is fine. It was always going to be fine. The only thing ruined was my sister's plan to get free housing at my expense. My apartment is still mine. My office still works. My career still grows. And my niece, she texts me sometimes, sends photos, asks for advice. We have a relationship. Just not the one where she lives in my apartment and I sleep on my own couch. Sister still doesn't speak to me. That's her choice. I've made peace with it. Because here's what I've learned. Some people see family as a support system. Others see it as a resource extraction network. My sister saw my apartment and saw opportunity. Not for my niece. My niece would have been fine either way. For herself. For the problem she wanted solved with my sacrifice. When I wouldn't sacrifice, I became the enemy. But my apartment stays mine. My boundaries stay firm. And my niece is doing great, not despite living without me, but maybe partly because of it. She's independent, capable, building her own life. Exactly what university is supposed to teach. You're welcome, sis. Edit. Thanks for all the support, everyone. For those asking about my relationship with my niece now, it's good. Probably better than it would have been if we'd been forced into a living situation neither of us really wanted. She's turning into an impressive young adult, and I like to think watching her uncle hold boundaries might have even taught her something about doing the same. Edit 2. My sister has not reached out. I doubt she ever will. Some people can't admit they were wrong, and some bridges just stay burned. I'm okay with that now. Family isn't always the people who share your blood. Sometimes it's the people who respect your boundaries. NTA, at least that's what I keep telling myself.